mindfulness is. And to me, it's just being aware, being present. I feel like there's so much to experience in the world. It's mindfulness, not mind emptiness. So it's like to be full of life, to be present, to be aware. It's one of the things I tell my son when he's playing. It's like, be mindful, be careful. You know what careful is? Like full of care. Be mindful, be aware of what's around you. So I think that it, like you said, it is a way of healing yourself. It is a way of dealing with certain things to end in your evolution as a person that you don't want to pass on. I realize that when you do have a child, you pass on everything. You pass on what you may call the good or the bad. I realize there's really no such thing. It's kind of just all perspective based, so it's like, it's one of those things that some of your biggest blessings come in disguise.
Right.
You may not recognize them. So I kind of don't look at it like I used to of like good or bad. I just kind of look at, all right, I'm done with this pattern. I don't need to pass this on. Whether it's health, whether it's like cleaning your colon and your liver and your kidneys, whether it's dealing with trauma. My father grew up in Monroe, Louisiana, and he used to get beat up for being black on the wrong side of the tracks, and he used to have a stuttering problem. And I don't know what I inherited from that, but when I did some therapy, it forced him to go to therapy, and he was just like, yo, I love learning from my son, he says, and
Right.
My point being is that it's all, our DNA is like a computer, so much information in it. That when you're mindful, it's kind of like the way of accessing it all. When you're mindful, one of my favorite examples is when I'm going through a tough time in life, I wish I could have known what my grandma would have said or or the advice my grandfather would have gave me. They were both World War II veterans, and my grandma was one of the first female black captains. She was like one of those women that was in the 6888, that movie Tyler Perry made. And I'm like, man, I wonder what my grandma would say now. But it's like, if you just really connect with yourself and are mindful enough, you can gauge the messaging of what's there because the information is already there.
Yeah. What I'm hearing from all of you is that it's about connection. That when you are mindful, you're either connected to other people, connected to your lineage, right? There's an awareness that comes with mindfulness, right? And you're talking about connection from different points, though, right? Through grief, through pain, yeah?
And what's interesting about that is studies are showing us more and more that we heal in connection with others. The worst thing we can do to someone in the world in wars is kill them, obviously. The second worst thing is isolation. And in grief and in trauma, we often decide to isolate because the world doesn't see it as we do. And so then it becomes hard to find those connections and the repair work that's needed. So we so need community.
Right. And I also think in the world that we live in right now, it is very easy to feel overwhelmed by feelings of grief, anger, whatever it is that you're feeling, and then to isolate in that way. And so I'm also hearing that connection is really important to move through those feelings.
Yeah, I think a comparison, too, is one of the biggest, obviously, thieves of joy, in a sense, but I think that the connection and community is so important, but also to realize your individuality, that your journey is yours, and we're all doing our best to figure it out. We're all going through something one way or another. We're all going through these ups and downs, and to embrace each other in that sense, no matter what we're going through in our life, you never know what someone's going through, and they may come at you, quote unquote, wrong, but you got to remember that you don't know what's going on with them. And that's always something to remember as well amongst the community, just to add on to what you were saying.
So